What is going on, guys? Money Webby here, back again, week 8 with my first look picks of the week. Few guys, 6 in total. That this jumped off the slate to me at first. When you're going to draft, you look at the matchups, you look at the Vegas lines, and all that stuff. Just how things are trending recently with some injuries and some snaps like trends, some air yards for the wide receivers, targets, the matchups, like I'm saying, wide receiver, cornerback matchups, everything considered. Just a quick first look at that. So before we get going, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to drop a like in the video. It is really the most important things about making videos is people leaving likes. It really goes a long way, so I'd really appreciate that. Let's try to get over 100 likes in this one. If we can do that, that'd be appreciated. Also, if you're interested in NBA DFS, if you play that, I'm doing those videos daily. For the NBA DFS slate, 6 plays or 6 players in every slate that I'm very high on, similar to this video. The Money 6, I call it. So hit that subscribe button if you want to stay tuned and keep it locked here for NBA and NFL DFS. Some good free research advice. So let's hop right into it. The first guy up is going to be Tannehill, Tannegoat, as you might want to call him after this week. But at 5,100. He looked pretty damn solid last week against the Chargers defense that is banged up, but they're not that bad. I mean, they do still have a good cornerback in Casey Hayward. I mean, their cornerback play isn't bad. I mean, compared to Tampa Bay, it's probably a sizable amount better than their cornerback play for Tampa Bay. So this is a better situation for fantasy scoring, and he still did pretty damn well last week. 23 DraftKings points at 4,800. Definitely a good value. His price didn't go up that much at 5,100, so he offers really good upside again here at his current salary. This matchup, the Titans are projected for 24.5 points. Definitely a solid line for them. And this is a pace uptick, which you always love, is faster paced games. Like the Chargers play at the slowest pace out of any team in a neutral game script. So in the games, like if they're within 7 points or like above 7 points, is kind of in that neutral range. They're playing pretty slow, and that's pretty much exactly what the game script was in this Chargers-Titans game last week. It was pretty much like tied, or one team was up by 7 or so the whole entire game. So that was kind of a slow-paced game. Both teams running the ball a decent amount, but Tampa Bay has a funnel defense where they really allocate their yardage allowed to the passing game. I mean, they've allowed the fewest rushing yards to running backs. Derrick Henry, I think he's going to struggle a little bit in this game. And they allowed the 7th most passing yards. That funnels it in. 2 guys like Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, and just Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball. So I think he's going to have some more pass attempts in this game, as it will be a faster pace with Derrick Henry struggling. They might need to turn more to the passing game here, kind of ditch maybe that run-heavy game plan. Tampa Bay doesn't run too much. When Tampa Bay is down in games, they have the 5th fastest pace when trailing. So if Tampa Bay gets up in this game, and we're going to see a ton of Jameis Winston passes like always whenever they get down, and that plays very good into the pace of the game and the overall opportunity for a guy like Ryan Tannehill. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my quarterback. Really good value, allows you to pay up at other positions. Then we're going to go with Latavius Murray. Mentioned him in my updated picks last week, so if you played him, you probably got some good success out of him. With Alvin Kamara being trending down last week, and maybe put Latavius Murray onto my radar, which I'm trying to say. So he was 5,100. He was a really good salary, and I still think he's underpriced here at 5,800 because the opportunity, like I was mentioning last week, his touch upside is just so good. He had 32 touches in that game, 35 DraftKings points, played 84% of the snaps. So that's elite opportunity right there with the touch amount and the percentage of snaps. And Arizona here, a similar, I mean, they have been running the ball a little bit more, but the Saints' rushing defense is just so good where I think they're going to have to force the Cardinals into that pass-heavy approach. And it kind of allows the Saints to have a ton of time of possession like we saw last week against the Bears. The Bears barely even try to run the ball because the Saints' run defense has been that good. And Latavius Murray, the biggest thing about DFS is you got to get the touchdowns. Latavius Murray, whenever he's that workhorse running back, there's literally been no one better in the red zone at converting opportunities and just getting a lot of opportunities just because he's been historically so good in the red zone. when he was on the Raiders, the guy like punched in it every single time. I feel like he got within the side, like the 3-yard line. We saw 2 touchdowns last week for him, and without Alvin Kamara, who is very involved in the red zone, Latavius Murray is going to be getting all those opportunities. So I'm assuming here, obviously, that Kamara is going to be out. If he does play, then scratch this whole thing. Forget I said it. And in my updated picks on Fridays, and on Friday, I will pivot off Latavius Murray. But against a game in Arizona or against a bad Cardinals team, I would assume with the bye week next week that they just rest him up. I mean, he has 2 injuries. He's an ankle injury and a knee injury. So I don't think you want to play around with that. They're in it for the long haul. They have a very good record. No reason to rush him back when the playoffs are already on their radar. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my first running back. Then we're going to go with Sony Michele. Definitely hasn't been the prettiest production to watch out of Sony Michele. The guy's averaging some very low totals in some of these games. 2.2 yards per carry last week. Our last game, the game literally happened yesterday, but still last week, 3.9 against the Giants. Was pretty good against the Redskins, 5.7, had a 1.2 against the Jets. It looks like the Jets has really got his number, and also the Steelers, 0.9, but he has looked a little bit better recently. I think the Jets have a very underrated front seven. When C.J. Mosley came back this week, obviously that helped the run defense. They have some good defensive linemen. So that's just kind of a tough matchup. But this matchup here against the Cleveland Browns, they've been really bad against the running game the last 2 weeks. They've allowed 377 rushing yards to running backs in those last 2 games. We saw them Monday night against the 49ers, where the 49ers literally were like, hey, we're going to run the ball. That's pretty much what it looked like every time they lined up. It was pretty damn obvious, and the Browns couldn't do anything about it. They just got ran over every single play. So the Patriots are run blocking isn't as good as the 49ers, but just with the Browns' incapability to be able to stop obvious running plays from the 49ers leads me to believe that I think Sony Michele will be a little bit more effective in this game. I think he can get us over 3.5 yards per carry, give us maybe over 60 to 70 rushing yards, and those touchdown opportunities are always there. He had 3 last game, won the game, or 2 games before that, 1-1 these other 2 games. He kind of got screwed in this game against the Giants because Tom Brady had like 2 QB sneaks inside the 1. So that kind of screwed him over, but he still had his top 3 or so, I believe, in red zone carries. So it has the touchdown upside and has the added yardage upside to add to his floor and his ceiling. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there. I think it's a cheap price tag of $5,200 for a guy that always has the ability to score 2 or 3 touchdowns every given week, because the Patriots are, for whatever reason, their offense is just built a way where with all that kind of over the middle dink and dunk kind of stuff, it just sets them up to be tackled at the 2 or 3 yard line. It seems like every single time, and Sony Michele is set up perfectly to score a touchdown. So I like him a lot there and a better matchup. And now we're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins here at 8,100. He's the highest salary wide receiver on the slate, but it's for a damn good reason. Will Fuller out of this game, out with the hamstring. When Will Fuller was out last year, DeAndre Hopkins saw a 33% target share. That would be number 1 among wide receivers this year. Even with Will Fuller this year, he was seeing a 29% target share. So that's still a pretty sizable difference. 33% compared to 29% if you allocate it out on every single game. Pretty sizable. And against an Oakland team that couldn't stop the Packers without Devontae Adams, that's not a good sign heading into this week. And similar kind of quarterback play they've struggled against. I mean, Deshaun Watson heading into this week, a guy that can extend plays, really make things out of nothing. And that's similar to the 2 quarterbacks that have absolutely destroyed him this year in Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers threw for 429 yards, 5 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown. I think Deshaun Watson is obviously a good play to pair him up with DeAndre Hopkins, but the value in Tannehill is going to be where I'm going in this core. But I definitely do not fault you to put lineups with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. I think that would turn out to be a very good stack, as I think Hopkins has 100-plus yards upside, can get over 8 catches again here, and can definitely find himself in the red zone, as well as Will Fuller was getting a decent amount of red zone opportunities when he was in the lineup, but now he's hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in DeAndre Hopkins there as my first wide receiver. Then I'm going to go with John Brown, my favorite matchup every single week as wide receivers against the Philadelphia Eagles. They can't stop anyone at wide receiver, no matter who they're facing, really. I mean, every single deep threat type wide receiver similar to John Brown has gone absolutely off. If you look at the game log, Marvin Jones, 6 for 101 with the touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 5 for 125 with a touchdown. Calvin Ridley, 8 for 105 with a touchdown. Stephon Diggs just absolutely went crazy, 7 for 167 and 3 touchdowns. John Brown, the obvious number one option for this Bills passing attack, has been extremely consistent. Not typically a consistent guy in his career, but every single game he's gotten over 50 receiving yards. And this game has the potential to set up as a little bit more of a positive game script, like we saw against the Patriots where he got 11 targets. I think the Eagles might be a little bit pissed off about how terrible they played, and I think they could honestly beat the Bills in this game just based on them just being embarrassed so much on national TV. I could see a bounce back game for the Eagles, especially if they get Deshaun Jackson back. But a more positive game script here, like we saw against the Jets even. They were down 16-0 in this game. He put up 28 DraftKings points, and I think he can go off. Honestly, this was a little bit of a more neutral game script against the Dolphins as they got down, put up 19 DraftKings points. So whenever they have to pass the ball more, John Brown has added upside. And in this matchup, the Eagles typically good against rushing offenses. I think Frank Gore and Devin Singletary could struggle to get any rushing yards, as they'll probably make Josh Allen beat them. And I think John Brown will be able to beat them deep at least once here and be able to get a good yardage and possibly get that touchdown as well. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my second wide receiver. Then I'm going to go with Darren Waller. I tweeted out midweek with things trending in the direction of another positive game script for the Oakland Raiders, that Darren Waller had really good potential. Again, I mean, I tweeted out like the one positive game script recently, or the one big positive game script we've seen for Darren Waller has been that game against the Vikings where they got down very big, and Darren Waller saw 14 targets, 13 for 134, and 30 DraftKings points. This game against Kansas City was also a positive game script, 6 for 63, 12 DraftKings points, still solid. And then you got a nice positive game script here against Green Bay, 7 for 126, 2 touchdowns, also had a touchdown called back. So the guy went absolutely off. I think he has that big upside again here against the Houston Texans. They're 6.5-point underdogs. And like I mentioned with DeAndre Hopkins and that Deshaun Watson stack, I think they're going to be able to feast on offense and leave the Raiders probably trailing in this game. I mean, Derek Carr is always going to have those head-scratching throws and some potential punts, and you can't give Deshaun Watson too many opportunities. He's going to take the lead in this game, and we're going to be seeing some garbage time work for Darren Waller, hopefully. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my final guy of the Money 6. So those are the plays. You got Ryan Tannehill, Latavius Murray, Sony Michele, DeAndre Hopkins, John Brown, and Darren Waller. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like on the video before you head out if you did. 100 plus likes is the goal, so let's see if we can hit that. If you see less than 100 likes, then be sure to hit the like button as hard as you can. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. They continue to get these plays and get some NBA DFS advice as well. My favorite sport to make videos about, as you can be a little bit funnier, I guess. You can make fun of players a little bit easier, as typically when players have a bad game, it's more on them. NFL, it's kind of more of a team thing. So it's a little bit funner to make some videos for there. So definitely check out those videos. Good luck here, though. And definitely check in on Friday for my updated picks with all the injury reports. I mean, a lot of things can change throughout the week. And, yeah, good luck. We'll see you back here again next time.